Well, we were very upfront with them that the flying sequences in this film were going to be captured for real. So from the very start, we weeded out anyone who wasn't up for that experience. So that, when we narrowed it down to the actors that are in the film, they were all very excited, even if I don't think they understood 100% what they were getting themselves into. Tom, having made the first Top Gun and done a lot of practical action sequences through his career, knew that they would need a certain amount of training to get comfortable in the cockpit. So he designed a pilot training course for all of them that lasted about 3 months, taking them from a Cessna, which is a very slow flying training plane, all the way up to the F-18 Super Hornet. So by the time we were shooting, they were all relatively prepared for what was required. In addition, the Navy required them all to go through underwater training courses, so that if they found themselves in the water in an airplane due to some sort of malfunction, they would know how to get out of their seat, even if they were underwater, upside down, and be able to get to the surface. So they had the same training that the Navy pilots had before they were able to shoot these sequences. Well, you're going to see some aerial sequences in this film that I think have never been done before. There is a sequence in the middle of this film, and if you've seen it, it's the scene where Maverick flies the low-level training course to prove the mission can be done, where we got special permission from the Navy to fly under 50 feet above the ground, which is very, very low. Especially when you're traveling 500 miles an hour. It was flown by one of the top pilots in the Navy. And I think it's one of the most intense things Tom's ever done, but necessary to kind of sell what's happening in that part of the movie. Yeah, well, the theme of the film is about teamwork and sacrifice and camaraderie, and so we didn't want to make it a film about politics. So the faceless, nameless enemy is certainly part of the design from the beginning, just like the first Top Gun. So everything is fictional. We shot it in Washington State, up in the northwest corner of the United States, just to give it a very unique and a look that's kind of the opposite of what you'd expect in a Top Gun movie, which for me was exciting, to get out of that sunset landscape and get into something much different. Well, the purpose of the mission isn't an invasion or anything. It's about keeping the world safe. So that was, we shot this film in 2018. Obviously, the world changes every day, but again, the theme of the film is one of teamwork and never leave your wingman. So that's kind of the focus of the film, and it's not really meant to be about anything other than that. I think it's like the first film. It's really a film about friendship. This notion of a wingman is someone who always has your back no matter what. I think that theme is continued from the first film to this one, but obviously this is a brand new story. It's a whole new rite of passage story for Maverick, and you see him go through this very kind of character-driven experience and end up in a very different place at the end of this film than we find him at the beginning.
Well, it's all under the direction of Tom and Joe Kaczynski and our writers. We had terrific writers working on this. So we're very fortunate to have such great talent surrounding us to make this film as good as we possibly can. It really hasn't changed, because you just got to tell a great story. It's all about story, character, and plot. And if you tell a great story with great characters and interesting plot about something, you can make a good movie. It's a no-faced enemy, and it's all about the competition of the pilots. That's what it's a story about: sacrifice, competition, and friendship, and a journey for Maverick. His journey, where he is in his life, and what he finds through his love affair, through the pilots that he works with, and through his excellence as a pilot himself. Well, we started this movie, I guess it's been held for 2 years, so this wasn't, the war wasn't going on. It was much calmer times. Unfortunately, we hit a pandemic, and the movie took 2 years to come out. But it's all about seeing it with a big audience, and that's why we made it. We want to see it on a big screen, and hopefully with a full house. But everything was done for real. It took us 3 months to train the pilots. They were on 3 to 4 different jets. They started with a prop plane, then they went into an aerobatic prop, then they went into a jet, and then they went into an F-18. So the G-forces, the G-force tolerance, they were doing 7 G-forces. 1 G-force is your body weight. They were doing 7 times your body weight. It's like an elephant sitting on your chest. So when you see these sequences, it's actually for real what these young actors are going through. And it took us 15 months to figure out where to put the cameras, how to keep them tied down so they wouldn't float away. And Joe Kaczynski oversaw that, and he had to go through all the Navy lawyers, so there was no liability in case a camera came loose. We filmed them from the air, we filmed them from the ground. We had helicopters around the airplanes too. So it was a real experience for the audience to feel what these jet pilots go through when they're flying one of these high-powered machines. And especially the kind of stress on your body. And these actors came down, they were soaking wet after one sortie of a couple hours. And if it didn't work because we couldn't see what they were doing up there, we had to do it all over again. So we sent them back up in the air. And a lot of actors wouldn't do this because they were afraid of flying or didn't want to do it for real. But the actors we picked are the ones who wanted to experience what a jet fighter pilot goes through.
Yeah, we all did. All of our friends, my friends growing up, this was a big deal, this movie. In the old days, you had to get excited for a movie by reading about it in a magazine or seeing a trailer before another movie. It's very different. Anticipation of films is very different now with the internet. But we had a much more analog experience with it. So when it came out, I remember we were all basically salivating to go see this film. It just looked so cool. And then we saw it. And then as soon as it was over, we all wanted to see it again. And that was the impact that this movie had on my generation of moviegoers, really. I don't know if I wanted to be Maverick, but I wanted to be near Maverick for sure. Everything about that film was just so cool. And so to get the opportunity to be in the next chapter of this story with some of the same characters and was a thrill of a lifetime for sure. Well, yeah, I mean that's the big question, isn't it? It's the rules are there, but rules are also sometimes made to be broken, and I think that's Maverick's take, and Cyclone's take is a little more straightforward. And I think the friction that comes when those two bump up against each other is what provides the dramatic tension in the second half of the film. I think that's the big question: is when is it okay to break those rules, and when is it okay to push past limits? And that's what our boy Maverick finds out. Sure. I think anybody that's been around this industry long enough understands that there's always a new generation coming up and nipping at your heels in some way, shape, or form, and being outmoded or being sort of a relic is the worst thing you can be. But you know for better or for worse, Tom Cruise has been doing this for the better part of 4 decades at a very high level, and that says something. He's got his lasting, his enduring charisma and his enduring ability to continue to be a movie star is impressive. You know, it's not without a lot of work, that's for sure. But to be able to watch somebody do what we do at such a high level for so long is inspiring. Well, you know, we obviously the filmmakers involved with this have a very good relationship with all of the armed forces, but the Navy in particular. And the first film was a big recruitment tool for the Navy back in the 80s. A lot of the guys that we worked with said they became naval aviators because of Top Gun. And so obviously there's a very good symbiotic relationship between the two entities. And because of that, we were able to have a lot of access to a lot of senior admirals and the sort of executive class of the Navy. And so we were able to learn a lot from them, how they go about, you know, their decision-making process, and how difficult it is when you're dealing with the lives of hundreds of men and women, and you're also dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of taxpayer-funded equipment. So those are decision-making processes that are not entered into lightly, and I think that's the kind of attitude you have to have when you're dealing with that.
I think she's independent and strong. You know, she runs this bar that she owns that's frequented by all the pilots and the naval aviators, and she's really built a community there. You can feel she's a single mom. She's got a great relationship with her daughter. I think that she's, she's someone who seeks out adventure. She has, I think, a lot of fun in life, and she has a pretty good positive attitude. I think that she approaches life's challenges with a lot of humor also, and playfulness, which you can see from the way she interacts with Pete, you know, when he shows up. I think, you know, this sort of, I thought she was well written in the script when I read it. She was written as quite a strong character, and I appreciated that, and wanted to, keep an eye on that, because I felt that was an important trait of hers. I think it's so hard to make these sort of sweeping generalized statements about it, because there are always, I mean, even if you look at the original Top Gun, you know, Kelly McGillis's character was his superior. And she was quite a strong, intelligent character. It's very hard to make those generalizations. Of course, there's been a lot of focus on roles for women in the industry, and working conditions for women, and that is all great, and I think we have made great strides. The whole process, to be honest with you, was pretty extraordinary. Working with Tom, I've never come across anyone like him. His enthusiasm, the level of his enthusiasm and commitment and passion for making movies, his process, the way he works to find a story and hone in on a story, it was really interesting for me. So it was kind of the whole process of the filming in all. But then, of course, it was punctuated by these scenes that had these, extraordinary action sequences, like riding on a motorcycle, or the sailboat scene, or the flying sequence. Those were kind of more extraordinary life adventures. Sure. I mean, I had been sailing before. I'd been on motorcycles before, and obviously I've been in planes before, but I'd never been in a P 51 before. So that was a different experience. And, with Tom as the pilot, that was certainly, that was a different kind of experience than I've had before.
I didn't get a chance to talk to Anthony before filming. I've still yet to meet Anthony or Meg Ryan for that matter too, because she is Bradley's mom. But no, I haven't. I'm looking forward to, once this movie comes out, I hope Anthony and I can kind of sit down and chat about our experiences with these movies. I hope he enjoys the movie. I hope he enjoys the performance. I'm pretty sure he will. But with Anthony and what he was able to do with that character, Goose became such an iconic character for so many people, and he really, he just is. He was that perfect wingman, and so I'm glad they didn't ask me to try and be Goose. I'm glad that we weren't doing a remake. So I had a lot of fun playing this part. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the fact that for Rooster, that his dad was a fighter pilot. Maverick was a fighter pilot. These were guys that he obviously looked up to an incredible amount, and I think for him to want to kind of follow in his dad's footsteps and to do the exact same training that killed his dad just shows the determination of him. And I think that was something I really responded to with the character. I think there's a lot of things that would make people maybe a little too uncomfortable, kind of with everything that was at stake there. But it was, I'm really proud of the storyline that they gave Rooster in this one. So for this movie, it took about a year to make, but before we even started filming, there was months and months of flight training, and that was something that Tom came up with a program for all of us, and we were flying. For a minute there was like every day, almost, or every other day, to get the hours logged and to understand what aviation really is all about. We kind of did all of the initial steps that somebody would do to get their pilot's license, and then we kicked it up a notch, and then we had to, get in the jets and get our G tolerance up so that we could fly with these fighter pilots and film a really great movie. Well, I think a part of it comes down to belief in yourself and belief in your own skill sets. It also probably takes a little bit of stubbornness, but I think there's the relationship between Rooster and Maverick. There's a lot of love there, and these were in the situation they get put in at the end. I think there's an immense amount of loyalty that Rooster feels to Maverick, and I think he feels that Maverick shows him. Maverick did the same thing for him. So I think that's really what it was all about for those guys.